Sure, a 2-minute debrief, question, answer. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the independent clause. So there's lots of choices. When you do these mini lessons, I choose to use the word sentence, and maybe the word independent clause would be closer to the standards. So that's one choice. What questions do you have? Yes?
Is this lesson written up somewhere?
This lesson is written up, and Erin has it. We're going to hand it to you. So it's, and it's also in the Google Docs under the 4th grade. Actually, I think it's under the Everyone folder. And so pretty much it's here verbatim. I used a lot of different resources. I tried to honor them. The whole back page is resources. But it's basically a 1.5-page document. Yes?
Now, I've had experience with 4th graders that write many compound sentences as one big long one. So could you also add to this mini lesson a way to, or next day lesson, a way to break apart sentences that are too long? That
Certainly.
should not be enjoyed.
Certainly. Yeah. And maybe that's a mid-workshop teaching point, and maybe that's a table conference, depending on how many are doing that. You'll notice it was difficult to find a very simple compound sentence in the book. My father wanted to go over and tell his neighbor he was sorry. I mean, there was already the word "and" in there, right? So it was difficult. I intentionally made mine very simple, so that they would have that model also. Erin or Amy or Mark, anything you want to add in? Or
Well, just, Jen, as you think about like making a grammar mini lesson, how did you decide, the mentor text and things?
Right.
It sounded like that was the same mentor text from the unit.
It was, and I purposefully tried to do that. So this mini lesson would live probably in revision under the launching narrative unit for grade 4. That's probably where it would be. And so the two main mentor texts are the Summer My Father Was 10. I think Owl Moon was one. Owl Moon has very few coordinating conjunctions in it. And I thought at the beginning of the year, I looked at the standards and I thought, it seems like coordinating conjunctions would be something I'd want them to learn early on so that they could practice sentence structure throughout the year. And an assumption that's made here, and it's written up in the mini lesson, is that we've used Jeff Anderson's noticing of simple sentences throughout the year. So our bell work basically has been noticing what simple sentences are. So they were ready for this.
So then you decided to use compound sentences, like when you think about you were pacing
Right.
the whole year, you decided this needed to go earlier in the
Yes.
year, so it fit with that narrative.
Correct. And when you think about the calendars, so the next unit in 4th grade is persuasive letter, I think. Does that sound right? I've got it written down here. Compound sentences are great for persuasion because you pack two things into one sentence. So when you're thinking about persuasion, they're a natural structure for that. Future work. Mini lesson 2 could be done during the drafting stage of the persuasive letter. Mini lesson 3 would be done during the generating stage of the literary essay. So that would be the way I would think that through.
And Jen, just one more question. Could you explain to us why we were tracking the rules?
Oh, yeah, this is something I started doing a while back, and it actually happened with the Ferris class. We know that students need to sometimes label things. As a writer, maybe they don't, but we know that we're tested on things also, and it's good to know the names, to know the proper nouns. So I always try to eventually get to the label, what the thing is called, and we want to do it correctly. So when I introduce something, I want to start building those guidelines. I try to call them guidelines instead of rules, but I forget sometimes and call them rules. But they're really guidelines. And you notice that we came back and added to one of them. We added the thing about I. Sometimes we might come back and relanguage them as our understanding gets deeper, or maybe add one, or maybe take one away. Or maybe notice that a modern author breaks those rules. And it's easier to have that conversation about modern literature, the breaking of the rules, if they understand the traditional way it's done. So thank you for that.
I was just looking through the language standards, and I looked all the way back to 1st grade, and they just reference produce and expand, complete, simple, and compound declarative, and power. It doesn't say, so they use just compound sentences. They don't break it any further.
Okay. Yeah, they don't.
Track it back all the way to 1st grade where compound sentences are used for
So they don't use independent clauses? Okay,
that I
so,
see anyway, just with the
Okay.
hand here.
okay. And that's some of the work that you'll be doing. You'll be setting the standards to make sure that the verbiage you're using in your mini lesson makes sense, so, okay. One, yep,
Yep, I noticed that you charted things, then when you do the second mini lesson, do you pull these charts out?
absolutely, yeah. That chart would hopefully live in the wall, in the room, on the wall, given wall space. And I know that some, one more thing, and then I know we need to go into, get to go into research. Some teachers have students chart those in one part of their writing notebook. Some of you are nodding, or even have a different notebook, so. Okay, all right, thank